We are here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course as we get set for the 6th Annual National Auto Sport Association Championships presented by Toyo Tires. 2 days live here on SpeedcastTV.com. A big weekend here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. National champions will be crowned. You're going to see it all here on SpeedcastTV.com. Performance touring out on the racetrack. The first group that will get the green flag will be PTC and PTD. Sarah Cantaneo and PTC on the pole alongside Eric Ross, then Manny Coates, David Lee, Ron Farmer. Those are the PTC drivers. Then the PTD, Patrick Smith, Ron Dodson, Matt Johnston, Greg Peluso, Thomas Neal, Ben Anderson, Dan Harding, Edgar Villarroya, Colin Botha, Alec Udell, Stuart Robinson, Brian Shanfield, and Stephen Deviney.
And for our second flag, or a flying start, number 786, the Team Pakistan Express with Brian Max behind the wheel from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Followed by Alex Bolanos, Todd Reed in the Reed Speed Pro, Kyle Webb, Jet Hawthorne, Bradley Allen, Xavier Calderon, Jonathan Davis, Cliff Blanchard, John Mueller, Stephen Harper, Charlie Hayes, Walter Carlos, looks like Bradley Allen's in there as well, Ed Kengialozzi, Gregory Stasiowski, and Kishanta Galapati, making up our 35, or actually 36 entries here for our PTC, PTD, and PTE race. And we're seeing a lot of familiar names here that have been in other races. Boy, these are some absolutely iron-willed drivers being able to do 2 championship races in one day. I see Sarah Cantaneo on there. I see Manny Coates. I see a lot of people that have already been out there. And Colin Botha, he must be a little tired from his great battle in Honda Challenge 2. Finishing right behind Manny Coates. Wow, they really are iron-willed competitors, and that's got to get you a lot of respect from me.
And yesterday we saw performance touring A and B here at Mid-Ohio with Scott Perkins picking up PTA and Derek Whitus winning the national championship in PTB. A unique class, John Lindsay, that classifies over 600 makes and models of cars in one of 7 classes, so you can almost have anything. We can almost see anything here in PT.
Just about. This uses the time trial matrix that we have come up with and just translates it over to wheel-to-wheel racing. You can actually see Todd Reed out there in a Ford Probe of all things. Really not something you think of as a race car, but man, he can hustle that thing.
And it looks like we are green. The first group of cars, PTC, PTD, taking the green flag.
Looks like that's Sarah Cantaneo in her Mini. That thing has a supercharger on it and makes a heavenly sound when she's on boost coming down the front straight. She's already running away a little bit from the rest of the pack. You can hear it right there.
How long have we seen the Mini Coopers in NASA racing?
Basically since they were new. As soon as they came out, they were with us. People took them right off the showroom floor, started doing HPD with them, TT, and racing right away. Our friends at Grassroots Motorsports actually built one very early on and brought it out with us. Again, that's the official magazine of NASA, and they are good partners for us. Looks like our second wave has gone green. There's our friend Brian Max trying to stay out in front of that probe of Todd Reed. And looks like that may be Patrick Smith coming around the outside, taking the second position, if I'm correct. Not sure. Maybe that's Alex Bolanos.
So Brian Max leading the way off of Madness. The 786 PTE class car.
And there's Stephen Harper in a little Sentra SER, another car near and dear to my heart. He's moving up the order there in that little shoebox Sentra. Great car with that SR20DE motor. Big fun to drive. But again, really a challenge to drive that little car. And he's hustling, moving up to P5 already after starting really far back in that PTE field.
Brian Max taking him down into Thunder Valley. As you see the one of Todd Reed from Maryland. PTE driver there, Ford Probe.
And there they are coming down the front straight, that PTE field. Very tight race so far. Alex Bolanos there out of Florida taking that second position. Pakistan Express out front with Brian Max at the wheel. Getting our GoPro speed camera shot there down the front straight under the Goodyear Bridge.
You know Brian Max, he won the qualifier on Thursday. He won it on Friday. That's why you saw him on the front row as he heads down into the keyhole. As we go back up front to Sarah Cantaneo leading PTC right now out of the Grand Canyon State.
And you can see Sarah's really hustling that Mini around. It is squirming all over the place, and she is doing a great job and putting a little bit of distance now on the rest of the field there in PTC. When they cross the line, we'll be able to give you the call on how much time Sarah has put in. Only 2.5 minutes into this race, and she's already stretching out a bit of a lead.
And you see there the 126 of Colin Botha, who started about mid-pack, towards the back, I should say, in the PTD.
And that's Manny Coates as well and Colin Botha. So those guys were going at it in the Honda Challenge H2 race, and here they are again doing it in the PTC race. Sarah Cataneo, though, stretching out about 5 seconds on them. So she is hauling the mail and getting out in front of these two Hondas.
So running order right now is we're about 3 to 4 minutes in, and PTC has Sarah Cataneo out in front. Manny Coates second, Eric Ross, David Lee, and Ron Farmer. On the racetrack, your top 5. We look at PTE, of course, we mentioned Brian Max, Alex Bolanos, Kyle Webb, Todd Reed, and Stephen Harper, your top 5. If we look at Performance Touring D, Colin Botha, Patrick Smith, Ron Dodson, Brian Shanfield, and Ben Anderson, your top 5. That is, once again, Performance Touring D. And in Performance Touring F, Ed Cangialosi, Walter Carlos, Greg Stasiowski, and Kishanta Galapati making up our 4 cars competing there in Performance Touring F as in Francis. We mentioned Sarah Cataneo in that Mini Cooper, winning her Thursday and Friday qualifying races in PTC. Patrick Smith in PTD swept Thursday and Friday qualifying races.
And this is kind of interesting. It looks like Manny is actually running that H2 CRX in PTC, and Colin is in PTD. So they're actually not competing with each other, and there may be little differences in those cars, or they just selected different classes, and Manny decided to run in the higher class instead of in PTD.
Todd Reed there, that Ford Probe GT out of Maryland, a regular with the Mid-Atlantic region in Performance Touring E, number 1, currently 10th in Mid-Atlantic points.
And it looks like Brian Max right now is getting a good time, but Todd Reed is catching up. He's running a little bit faster than that Pakistan Express Civic there and starting to get up on that entry. So watch Todd Reed there. Alex Bolanos, Kyle Webb, Stephen Harper, they're all right there just waiting to capitalize once again.
You could really see Brian Max is pulled away from the rest of this field. There he goes, coming through carousel here to the front straightaway. As Brian Max crosses the stripe, we had a chance to spotlight the driver who is so far batting 1,000 this year at the Nationals.
Now, a class you're going to want to keep your eyes on out here is Performance Touring E. Now, what a lot of people may not know is that a lot of the cars out here are actually front-wheel drive. What this means is that the steering, stopping, and accelerating is all being done with the front tires. What this is going to do is put a bigger load on the tires and make them wear fairly early in the race. Now, Brian, I know when I raced a front-wheel drive car, the biggest issue I ran into was keeping the tires underneath me in the following laps of the race. Now, how do you intend on keeping the tires to a cool temperature and making them last throughout this entire race?
One of the things we've done when we developed these cars is try different tire setups. So what we have on these cars is actually a wider front tire and a narrower rear. So we went to a wider front tire. It's allowed me to set fast laps at the end of the race. Setup works really, really well in this car. And on top of that, we spend a lot of time defeating traction at the rear so that the car will turn a little bit easier. We've got a great setup for Mid-Ohio. We're confident that we can take this car to the win.
Brian Max, a driver you're definitely going to want to keep your eyes on as he charges for a national championship victory here.
Former NASA champion Robert Stout reporting with Brian Max, and Max kind of putting on a clinic en route to his championship this year in Performance Touring E, but a great battle for second on back. Todd Reed in the 1, the 99 of Kyle Webb, the 02 of Alex Bolanos. It looks like Bolanos has gotten by Webb to take over that third spot.
Looks like he's challenging Reed coming down the front straight here. These guys are all right together. Stephen Harper staying with that pack as well. Great battle here in the 2, 3, 4, 5 section of the Performance Touring E field.
Just saw the 99 of Kyle Webb out of the Buckeye State right here in the Mazda Miata, regular in the Great Lakes region. Mentioned 15 different regions throughout the country with the National Auto Sport Association, so you're not too far away if you're living in the United States, I guess.
We will find an event for you just about anywhere in the country where there's a racetrack. And again, we welcome anybody and everybody. Experience is not required, but enthusiasm is.
NASAProRacing.com for more information, or NASA Championships is these guys here battling for a national championship. Right now, the battle for second, third, fourth on back. It's that Ford, the white #1 Pro GT. In second, Todd Reed as they come off Madness down into turn 6.
Alex Bolanos and Kyle Webb are both right there on Todd Reed, and he is doing a fantastic job holding them off. Let's see if that front-wheel drive Pro can hold off those two rear-wheel drive NB chassis, I believe. The newer Miatas there giving him a real hard time. Looks like almost a little chrome horn there from Alex Bolanos for Todd Reed. You can see Reed's air filter there sticking up through the headlight, giving him that ram air effect. Maybe that's what's keeping him out front of those two Miatas.
Well, what's the benefit in front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive here in the PTs?
I tell you, it's all a little bit of a crapshoot. It depends on how you set the car up and how you drive and what works best for you and weather conditions and so many different things. And Todd is really, really hustling that probe, and that is just not a very likely chassis. They also had, I believe that was the Mazda MX-6 for a while. Looks like a little off-roading there. Looks like that was number 41 in the little protege there. Ed Cangilosi going for a little off-roading there in his Mazda. Zoom, zoom, bounce, bounce.
Well, he's from White Plains, New York, and there's some hills up there.
Absolutely.
He's checking some of the hills here in Mid-Ohio.
Maybe he's going to give NASA's Rally Sport program a try, and he's just giving it a shot. I remember actually that it is a little bumpy out there, and I remember that big flip that Joey Hand had in his BMW was right kind of out in that same neighborhood. So you got to watch it when you go off course. It's not all putting greens and beautiful fairways.
Well, Brian Max, you just got a glimpse of him heading into China Beach, about a 3.5 to 4 second lead over second place Todd Reed. Again, this is Performance Touring E, as they are nose to tail. Now 5 cars. You could throw Stephen Harper up in there in the 78 car. Harper out of Virginia, that Nissan Sentra SER, current point leader in the Mid-Atlantic Series.
Absolutely. Stephen Harper, racecarlaw.com. He is a practicing attorney, but we forgive him for that. And he is doing a great job hustling that little B13 chassis Nissan SER in our Performance Touring E race here this afternoon at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
And it looks like the battle for PTD. This is the battle for the lead. Patrick Smith in the 14 and Brian Shanfield going at it. Smith down low, and it looks like he's going to take it out of a Madness, coming down now into turn 6. So some great side-by-side racing. And how about that 14? A nice move in a place that you don't really see anybody make a pass.
That was a pretty courageous pass, and he really set it up well. And now he's using that lap traffic to his advantage, getting Shanfield behind him. That was a very nice move by Patrick Smith, and you can see that Miata looks a little bit different, maybe a little more aero work up front, which moved him up to the PTD class, whereas a lot of them are in PTE, as we saw with Alex Bolanos right there in the PTE race, and Kyle Webb. But Patrick Smith has added a little more sauce to his Miata to move up into the PTD class, and he is doing great. Leading right now, Brian Shanfield, but Brian's not going to let that go, and he's going to be challenging back anytime now, I'm sure. And again, we've got a battle between front drive and rear drive, lightweight chassis, both of them. The, the 7th or 8th gen Civic there against the 1st gen Miata.
Yeah, these are guys that race against each other all season long, both in the Great Lakes region. Of course, Patrick Smith coming home second in the national championship race last year at Miller Motorsports Park.
Looks like Manny Coates is right there. He is running right now in the PTC class. He is P2, but he has a little bit of a tire rub there. Yeah, getting a little contrail of smoke off that left rear. So Manny Coates may be in a little bit of trouble if that starts to cut into his tire. Shanfield took it back. He, well, I spoke too soon. We'll have to wait until they come out of here.
I'll tell you what, I think Smith has got this Madness turned down, because he can just hug that inside part of that tight turn going uphill and back down. Madness, it's like he throws a rope out, grabs a tether, and just goes right around that corner. And he is very good through there. And You look at the Miata, you look at the Honda Civic, obviously maybe the setup a little bit better for these technical corners.
And that's, again, rear-wheel drive and front-wheel drive. You saw the Civic there as he went over Madness. It was pushing a little bit. That's typical of a front-wheel drive car. But the Miata was able to rotate and then get the power down sooner with that rear-wheel drive and probably a little bit shorter wheelbase, which really aids in trying to get a car rotated and hustled around a tight course like this. Here they come again, up to the line. Patrick Smith and Brian Shanfield are two top positions in Performance Touring D. They are just right together. Best lap times on those two guys, only a tenth apart or so. Last lap times, they again are just right there together.
Back up to the number 1 of Todd Reed, that white Ford Probe GT, currently running second in Performance Touring E. We documented Brian Max, kind of checked out from the field as these guys were battling. There is Max, so a pretty decent lead, as though the one of Reed and those guys behind him all kind of running the same lap times as Max, but he's got about 3.2, 3.3 seconds on that battle for second on back.
But I tell you, when the lap traffic comes up, Max may get held up somewhere, and these three guys are right there on him. I'm sure Stephen Harper is right there in the mix. Oh, and Patrick Smith is off, and there goes Shanfield. Wow, that was close. That could have been a disaster.
There he goes, putting his arm up, but wow.
Holy smoke. If he would have come across maybe a half a second later, Shanfield might have clobbered him when he came back on the track.
So the 14 back on the race course. Patrick Smith yielding the lead once again to the 64 of Brian Shanfield. And there he is coming through Thunder Valley, headed into the carousel here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And you're right, you know, some of those turns, those tighter turns, if he gets in a little hot, that front-wheel drive, that car will start to push as we go back up to the 111 of Sarah Cantaneo. As Sarah Cantaneo leading the Performance Touring C, heading down into turn number 1. She will work through the keyhole, and with that, we'll take a break. Stay with us, a lot more racing to come here from Mid-Ohio. This portion of the National Auto Sport Association National Championships presented by Toyo Tires is brought to you by Toyo Tires, driven to perform. And by GoPro. Be a hero, GoPro.
There's a reason why. In 6 years of powering every car in the Indianapolis 500 race, not a single Honda engine has failed. It's not the parts we make them from. It's the part we put in to every Honda.
Meet the Mazda 2. Pump friendly and loaded with value, but its secret power is super metal. High tensile steel, making the Mazda 2 lighter, yet stronger, and nimble as an intergalactic jackrabbit. Because if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. We build Mazdas. What do you drive? So.
Toyo Proxys Tires. Official tire of those driven to perform their best.
State your desires.
Speed, adrenaline, competition.
Calculating result in 3, 2, 1. National Auto Sport Association. Start here.
Back here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the 6th Annual NASA National Championships. Sarah Cantaneo right now out in front of Performance Touring C and just laid down a pretty quick lap, John.
1:38.470, which lowered the lap record. Go, Sarah, go. She is out in front of the whole field and PTC and just set herself a lap record for the PTC class. Looks like also, I got to tell you, we have a new lap record for PTD. Brian Shanfeld with a 1:39.116. That's lower than Patrick Smith's old mark of 1:41.647. Way to go.
So we get some rain on the racetrack to clean it off. The sun comes out, the grip comes back, and these drivers tackle this Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course and get faster and faster. It looks like almost every single lap.
Faster and faster, good conditions, great car setup, and wow, things are working. Lap records falling, championships being awarded. I tell you, what a weekend.
And Sarah Cantaneo again leading Performance Touring C, got that right rear in the air almost on every single right rear turn. As we go back to Reed, Todd Reed in the #1 Ford Probe GT. You can see all the speed he carries in, a little bit of a push coming into Carousel and now to the front straightaway.
It looks like he may be catching up to Max there. Those guys are not too far apart, only 1.4 seconds now separating Todd Reed from the Pakistan Express with Brian Max at the wheel. Looks like the PTE battle is starting to heat up a little bit, especially as we come into a little bit of lap traffic that Brian Max has to work through.
Yeah, this is what the #1 of Todd Reed has been waiting for as they enter keyhole here. That's your leader, Brian Max, the first white car. And right behind him, Todd Reed in that white Ford Probe.
And Alex Bolanos and Kyle Webb are not too far off there, but looks like Reed and Max are starting to open up a bit of a gap on those two Miatas. Look at them side by side coming down into China Beach, the Miatas in P3 and P4 in Performance Touring E. Max hitting up into madness, Reed right behind, making up a little bit of ground. We'll look at their last lap times last time through. Reed was a 1:42.875. Max was a 1:42.320. So Brian's still turning a little bit faster lap times, but again, here comes that wild card. It's the traffic.
Yeah, and if you look at Thursday and Friday qualifying races, the top four stayed the same each night. It was Max, Bolanos, Reed, and Webb. Right now, it is Max, Reed, Bolanos, and Webb. So second and third is flip-flop, but right now it looks like Reed's coming.
He is coming through the field. These guys are starting to work through their lap traffic there. That's going to be a real challenge. So once again, we will see what kind of real changes that the traffic throws at us. As Max comes up on lap traffic right now, he's hustling to the inside saying, oh boy, I'm going to set me a pick and put Todd Reed behind this lap traffic as they come into the turn one there and down into the keyhole. Way to go, Brian. He absolutely kept the hammer down. No fear right there for Brian Max, and that was a very critical pick. Because look at what Todd Reed's going to have to deal with as he comes up to that braking zone for turn two and the keyhole.
Yeah, Todd Reed now getting to the outside of one car. He's got to get by two more to have clear track to, again, try and run down Brian Max, the Toronto, Ontario, Canada driver out in front.
And Brian is partnered up with Faisal Ahmed. That is his driving partner in the team Pakistan Express car. Two great guys, and they are really, really getting out front here. Brian putting on quite a drive.
Approaching 22 minutes in this national championship race. The final here for the 6th annual NASA National Championships presented by Toyo Tires. Performance Touring C, D, E, and F on the racetrack. 4 more national champions to crown.
Looks like that's Brian Shanfeld right there with Manny Coates just behind him. Different classes, D and C. But again, two Hondas working together. Maybe Brian's going to give Manny a little bit of a tow as they head on up, working through the field here. Brian Shanfeld still out ahead of Patrick Smith and Ben Anderson in PTD. Looks like Patrick Smith is about 8 seconds behind Brian Shanfeld the last time they came through, and Ben Anderson is actually another 25 or so seconds behind Smith. So again, it's going to be between Brian Shanfeld and Patrick Smith in PTD there. Great battle of those two. Smith went off. Now Schanfeld is trying to stretch out a little bit of the lead as Smith is trying to catch up.
Yeah, and Manny Coates right behind him in that 72. You mentioned him. We've seen him a handful of times out here in national championship competition. Coates, of course.
And Manny's running second right now to Sarah Cataneo, but with the kind of clinic that Sarah's putting on right now, I don't think Manny's going to catch her, but that's not too shabby if Manny can hang on to second. He gets the top step in H2 and the second step in Performance Touring C. That's a pretty good weekend for the man from San Marcos.
Off turn to number 1 now into Keyhole. Turn 2 is a nice shot here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. You can see elevation change there. Off turn 1 up a little bit, then down into the Keyhole.
That's Patrick Smith, and he's working hard trying to catch up to Brian Schanfeld there in Performance Touring D.
And he took a little bit of a ride, about a third of the way through this race.
It looked like he had just gone off at the entrance to Madness there and thumped around the grass a little bit and came on right almost into Brian Schanfeld. And then Brian has just been checking out a little bit. But let's look at the last lap times for those two. Well, it looks like Brian's actually last lap time through was a 1:39.390. Patrick Smith at a 1:40.094.
It's about 6/10 between those top two for Performance Touring D. And as they race off of the Keyhole down the back straightaway through the kink. Kind of like the kink on the backstretch here at Mid-Ohio. Nice little right-hand turn.
And that's the 4, 5, 6 battle right there for Performance Touring D. I think that's Matt Johnston, Ron Dodson, and Thomas Neal, and they are having a great battle too. Look at Ron Dodson getting up trying to sniff around. Oh my, that is quite a race right there.
Acura Integra for Dodson out of Pennsylvania there. The middle car, the 272. As they head down into Thunder Valley again.
So that's the 03 car that they're right there with.
I think that's Gregory Peluso. So Peluso in the 3, the BMW 323i, a regular with the Great Lakes region, currently second in those points. And then again followed by Ron Dodson in the 272, who's really been shadowing Peluso there in the 3.
Great race there in PTD and really good competition all the way through the field. There's our GoPro speed cam showing those three going under the Goodyear Bridge. Great battle there between these three. Gregory Peluso right there, Ron Dodson, and that looks like also Matt Johnston, if that's the number 387, if I'm right.
And
there he is.
You are correct, sir.
You are correct, sir. Absolutely.
Matt Johnston in the 387 out of Ohio, the Mazda RX-7, another regular Great Lakes region. Just past the halfway point here in this national championship race, final event of the weekend for Performance Touring.
Like Ron Dodson trying to get a little bit of room there coming around. That was the Ed Canigliosi with his big ride.
That is the 387 of Matt Johnston, and he was unable to save it.
Backwards.
Looked like for a second he was going to throw into reverse, but that obviously not a good idea, so he'll spin it around back onto course. No harm, no foul. Looks like everything is good to go on that number 387 Mazda.
It's a second generation Mazda RX-7. There's Sarah Cataneo again. She is the class of the field and of the entire grid here, the number 111 Mini. And you can actually pick up a little of that blower whine there. You just heard it a little bit as the Mini Cooper comes through there. That is a really great sound. Looks like she is coming up on John Mueller, running in PTE. Also our Spec Miata National Director, John is, out of the Southern California region. So Sarah is getting ready to put John a lap down.
And with ease, she will get it done right around the outside. And here she comes to cross the start-finish line in front of us. Heading back down into turn number 1. Again, Todd Reed in the 1, the Ford Probe, out of Maryland. Followed by Kyle Webb in the 99. That is the battle for second in PTE as they head back to turn 1 and head to Keyhole.
It looks like these two guys, well, they've been battling, have lost a little time to Brian Max. You can see him out there in front. Our computer is showing us that they have 5.2 seconds to catch up to Brian Max there in the number 786 Pakistan Express Civic. So that's going to be a little tough to do. We're at 28 minutes or so into our final national championship race here at the NASA National Championships presented by Toyo Tires. Getting to the last race of the weekend, final moments here, and really another great race.
Yeah, Todd Reed there and Kyle Webb have been glued together, whether they were reeling in Brian Max or maybe losing a little time to Brian Max. They got a little bit too racy possibly, and Max was able to pull away. He's pretty much had clean track in front of him, the exception of that one gaggle of cars that he executed beautifully. That is Brian Max I'm speaking of. So he is out front of these two who are racing for second in Performance Touring E.
And it's great to see the two different chassis here, very radically different cars, yet they're so closely matched that you could not throw a blanket over the two of them. Unbelievable racing here. Coming under that Keybank Bridge, coming into Thunder Valley, right together, headed towards the carousel, Todd Reed and Kyle Webb in Performance Touring E.
Through Thunder Valley they go, headed towards Carousel, and then a nice left-hander, turn 13 right there to the start-finish line, and they will cross the stripe right in front of us, about a half a car length separating them at the start-finish line.
And Max still has a 5.155 second advantage on P2 and P3, Reed and Webb.
So there's Brian Max now heading into turn 2. The bottom of your screen, the white car, and then here comes second and third.
And also Brian Schanfeld is right there, our PTD leader. He is coming up on the PTE cars there, and John Mueller is in between now. Brian Max, Todd Reed, and Kyle Webb. So a little bit of lap traffic for Reed and Webb to deal with if they're going to try to catch up to Max before we go to the end of this race.
And remember, Brian Schanfeld started back in row number 9 behind all the PTC and PTD drivers. He started back in 17th, about 12th with the PTD drivers, so he has made some moves here today at Mid-Ohio.
Great racing today in our final race. Looks like Brian Schanfeld is continuing to turn consistent laps, coming up on, I believe, Todd Reed and Kyle Webb. There's John Mueller, too, in the PTE class. These guys are going to have to contend with John there as they come around. Interesting to see how it's going to shake out. I imagine we are not far away from a white flag situation when Sarah Cataneo comes by. She just crossed the stripe. I bet she has one more lap before she's going to see the white flag leading our field out there.
So there again is Brian Schanfeld out in front of Performance Touring D on the back bumper of two guys racing for second spot.
And look at that. Webb is just right on Reed's back bumper. Schanfeld's going to try to come around the inside. He's still got, probably about 14, 15 seconds on Patrick Smith. Look at that. He pulled a Brian Max right down to the right down the inside there. Very nice job. Very clean.
So Brian Schanfeld gets right by the one of Todd Reed, who is battling with Kyle Webb, and I don't know if we can see it, but possibly something dragging on the one of Todd Reed there.
That might be the exhaust. I think he has a straight through exhaust that's exiting right in front of the right rear wheel there, but I also did see a little bit of a shimmy in the front fascia, so maybe that little probe is getting just beat to death out here as Todd Reed is trying to catch up to Brian Max and climb up another step on the Performance Touring E podium here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
So Todd Reed still holding off Kyle Webb as they head through madness as the laps wind down here in our final national event of the weekend. You can see that right rear. It's really cool to see these guys go through that turn 6 and see that right rear get up off the ground as all that weight transfers to the left front.
Yeah, it's a great battle here between these two. Again, a lot of respect. You haven't seen any bumping and banging. Typical of NASA racing where there's a lot of respect between the competitors. They're not trying to do anything dirty. They're going to win with honor, all of these guys. And girls.
And Brian Max, who is currently leading these two in Performance Touring E, has kind of checked out. They reeled him in a little bit, and he has pulled away. He had a 5-second lead. And we'll see when they cross the stripe just how big of a lead Brian Max has, and it's still right at 5 seconds over Todd Reed and Kyle Webb. So Max checking out on the rest of the PTE. Sarah Cataneo pretty much checking out on everybody in PTC. Colin Botha still second in PTC, followed by Manny Coates and Eric Ross. But not many laps left, John Lindsay. If these guys are going to try and make something happen, this is it.
This is it. I mean, this is really the closing minutes here of the National Championship and the closing minutes of our race. There's Brian Max. He's put a couple more cars between him, Todd Reed, and Kyle Webb. Looked like there was lap traffic there, PTF car. I think that was Ed Canigliozzi again. And then we also have Brian Schanfeld working up and probably going to go around Brian Max pretty quick.
And it looks like Kyle Webb is closed in just a little bit on the one of Reed. Takes a peek to the outside, maybe the nice crossover movement through turn 6 into turn at number 7. Underneath the Honda bridge, headed back towards Thunder Valley. And Webb again making a big move to the inside, and Reed shuts the door on him.
Absolutely, and it just looked like Kyle didn't have enough power to make that stick. Not a big power car, that Mazda Miata. The Pro probably has a little more squirt, but again, a challenging chassis with that kind of big, heavy, nose-heavy front-wheel drive car, and Todd Reed is really, really wheeling that car. Coming up on Ed there, going to try and get around. We'll see how that goes. Ed's been a good citizen letting them by. They're going to freight train right around him on the outside, maybe pick it up on our GoPro speed cam when they go by. Looking at our turn 1 there. GoPro speed camera, wow, showing them just, thanks, unbelievable shot right there. Our producer Clark Camburn, boy, he loved that shot. And look at Reed's left front wheel. What is that doing? Something's happening with Reed's left front wheel. It's starting to shimmy a little bit.
Yeah, you can see it right there. I don't know if it's hard to really say because he's still keeping up and pulling away actually right there coming out of Keyhole on the 99. If there is a problem, he's certainly not going to stop.
Absolutely not.
So through the Kincaid turn 3, back down into China Beach. Again, we are watching the battle for second in Performance Touring E. They have been glued together. Kyle Webb peeking to the inside in turn 4. Not going to happen this time. The right rear in the air again for the one of Todd Reed, up through Madness, down the hill.
And these guys are absolutely using all of the track, all of their cars. What a battle with Todd Reed and Kyle Webb. White flag is out. Sarah Cataneo just took the white flag. And we are really, really going to see a good battle here all the way to the end in Performance Touring E with Todd Reed and Kyle Webb.
Yeah, they head underneath that Mid-Ohio bridge to head back to Thunder Valley, but here is Sarah Cataneo, the 111. Final time out in front. The overall leader, and of course the PTC leader, as she has, for the lack of a better term, I know it's a cliche, John Lindsay, but has put on a clinic here today.
And just such a clean drive by Sarah Cataneo, just right out there, working through traffic, just like a knife through hot butter, just going right through there the whole time. Great drive, reset a track record. Just a really nice weekend for her. She also had a great finish, as I remember, pretty solid drive in GTS 4. So again, another driver really doing a good job. Great endurance with 2 classes in one day, not that far apart. That's really got to take some physical conditioning.
And here's that battle still for second in PTE. Todd Reed in the white probe as they are glued nose to tail. Kyle Webb going to take a peek to the outside, trying to draft now. Will pull to the outside, entering turn 4. Not enough of a run through the kink. They'll head up to the top of Madness as the fans are eyeballing these two drivers. Sarah Catneo, meanwhile, coming off the final turn, turn number 13, double checkered in the air, and she will be the first across the line, take home the win in Performance Touring C as we go back again, John, to that battle for PTE.
And I bet Kyle Webb's not going to give up. He's going to be all over Todd Reed trying to get in there. I want to see what's going to happen down the carousel. I bet you that Reed is going to try a typical front-wheel drive line. Maybe he'll go a little bit wide and try to zing through there. And Kyle Webb may stick his nose under. Here comes Brian Schanfeld, going to be our big winner in Performance Touring D, taking the checker. And let's see that carousel battle. Here they come. What's going to happen? Yeah, Reed was a little wide, but he didn't give it up, and he is going to take that second position. Kyle Webb. Looks like Brian Max brought it home for the Pakistan Express team. Good job all around. Wow, what a drive for Todd Reed and Kyle Webb.
Wow, just a great race altogether as Walter Carbs had been pretty much out front all day long in PTF as we see Manny Coates there.
Looks like, yeah, it's Walter Carlos taking the PTF win, followed by Ed Cangialosi and Greg Stasiowski.
So Manny Coates in the 72 working his way to the start-finish line to finish second. If he can hold on through carousel to Sarah Cantaneo in Performance Touring C.
That's a pretty good job for Manny. 1-2 in two different classes, and really not a lot of separation for him either. So Manny's going to be a little bit tired tonight.
And rightfully so. He earned it. First and second here. A great week for Manny Coates. And there is the one of Todd Reed, who he earned a second place, man. And we know Brian Max kind of checked out, but a great battle to hold off Kyle Webb and some superb driving.
Absolutely.
As well as some superb driving from that lady right there. Sarah Cantaneo heads to the pits, and she will pick up the PTC National Championship.
Great drives all around in this Performance Touring race. We had super battles and just an amazing end to an amazing weekend. Here we have PTC unofficial results. I'll give you the top three. Sarah Cattaneo taking the win. Manny Coates in second. Colin Botha in third place in PTC.
We look at PTD. Brian Schanfeld picking up the win over Ben Anderson. And finally on the podium, the 272 of Ron Dodson.
Performance Touring E, of course, we have the great Brian Max, followed by those two scrappers, Todd Reed and Kyle Webb, making up our podium for Performance Touring E.
And finally, Walter Carlos takes the win in Performance Touring F in the 881. Ed Cangialosi is second, and the 32 of Greg Stasiowski rounds out your podium. So that will wrap up every single national championship you guys have to offer in the National Auto Sport Association. What an awesome weekend of racing. As Jeremy Scott's down in pit lane, we'll talk to our winners here in just a moment. We got one stop on the race course, but just a great all-around weekend of racing as we crown 26 national champions this year, John Lindsay.
Unbelievable weekend of racing, Rob. It has been an absolute pleasure working with you. Boy, we had some fun. We saw some of the greatest racing I think I have ever seen at any level. Just clean racing, all kinds of weather conditions, just crazy races all the way around. I don't see how it could get much better than this.
Well, to give you a rundown, if you missed any of the action here yesterday, we crowned 11 national champions. We'll run down the names that picked up the wins in FFR, Factory 5 Racing. It was Paul Kaiser, CMC2, Eric Shablom. Spec Miata went to Nate Sparks. SU, Ryan Ellis. ST1, David Pintarik. ST2, Dean Martin. Performance Touring A went to Scott Perkins. Performance Touring B, Derek Whitus. Spec E30, Robert Grace. Porsche, the Porsche 944 Spec class was Tyler Palmer. And Formula Mazda in the wet went to Daryl Wills. That was yesterday here, Saturday, at the 6th Annual National Championships presented by Toyo Tires. And, of course, earlier today, a total of 15 national champions now have been crowned.
Absolutely. In our Honda Challenge presented by Honda Performance Development, HC1, Jonathan Maris with the big win. HC2, Manny Coates. GTS1, Ed Baus in the Polizei. GTS2, Scott Good in the 333. GTS3, Joshua Smith. GTS4, Randy Mueller. GTS 5, Chad Nelson. AI, Dean Martin with the drive. AIX, Chris Griswold leading flag to flag. STR1, Troy Lindstrom in that Team Lynam Jägermeister Super Truck. STR2, John Buckert. And we just saw PTC, Sarah Cataneo. PTD, Brian Schanfeld. PTE, Brian Max. And PTF went to Walter Carlos.
Wow, an awesome weekend once again here with the National Autosport Association. We are going to take a break. When we come back, we will talk to the winners of Performance Touring with Mr. Jeremy Scott. You are watching the 6th Annual NASA National Championships presented by Toyo Tires right here on SpeedcastTV.com. We'll be right back. This portion of the National Autosport Association National Championships presented by Toyo Tires is brought to you by Toyo Tires, driven to perform. And by GoPro. Be a hero, GoPro.
There's a reason why. In 6 years of powering every car in the Indianapolis 500 race, not a single Honda engine has failed. It's not the parts we make them from. It's the part we put in to every Honda.
Meet the Mazda 2. Pump friendly and loaded with value, but its secret power is super metal. High tensile steel, making the Mazda 2 lighter yet stronger and nimble as an intergalactic jackrabbit. Because if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. We build Mazdas. What do you drive?
Toyo Proxys Tires. Official tire of those driven to perform their best.
State your desires.
Speed, adrenaline, competition.
Calculating. Result in 3, 2, 1. The National Autosport Association. Start here.
Welcome back to the 6th Annual NASA National Championships presented by Toyo Tires. Sarah Cataneo picks up the win in Performance Touring C. The overall win as well, as she was the first across the checkered flag, as she is down trackside with our Jeremy Scott.
Thanks, Rob. I'm down here with Sarah, and great race once again. You put out a clinic just like, did you watch Chris Griswold out there?
Thank you very much. No, it was a lot of fun. The rain held out for us, so.
Let's go ahead and talk about your race. You're in the Mini, out front the whole time. At any point did you think, okay, where's the rest of the field?
A little bit. I think I caught up to the back of the field, so there was plenty of cars to pass and hang out with. But, you know, it's a nice feeling being out in front.
It has to be indeed. Now, next weekend you're coming here to possibly win a title in Grand Am, the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. Did this race, in and of itself, help out your chance of possibly winning?
Absolutely. I get to go into next week being a NASA national champion, and it can only add fuel to my fire. So.
All right, well, congratulations, Sarah. We're looking forward to seeing you race next week, and winning this race has to help your confidence.
Absolutely.